Sibatshelile wema uyezu mkhwanazi iyezi task team yelele ma iyezi task team yelele ma. Hey, Tupac was not lying in his song Mzansi Don't Cry. It's a movie, it's a series, it's a drama. And today was one of those days where everything was happening everywhere all at once. Welcome, welcome, welcome to an emergency episode of The Dissection. General Mkhwanazi said there was something imminent that was going to happen in terms of an arrest of someone close to the Big Five or in the Big Five. And I thought, this thing is just, he's buying time. But something went down today, something major. It now looks like the man that they are going for directly and without hesitation, without compunction, is General Shadrack Sibiya. The man who wanted his hands on those 121 dockets so desperately he was sending out missive after missive after missive, saying, where are the dockets? Letana dockets. Bring the dockets. Now they are saying, bring your phone, Baba. Bring your laptops. Shadrack Sibiya. Today he had a day of reckoning with the police. Initially, the media was reporting that Shadrack Sibiya was arrested, but that was not the case, and I think that he created some of that confusion. I'll tell you why later. There was a search and seizure operation at his home. The same way that they came for Katiso Molefe, the same way that they came for Vusi Matlala. They first come and they search and they seize, and then they come later and they bopa, 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 bopingane, bopa. Things are going down. The bopacation is about to happen. Right, so there was a search and seizure operation at his home. Now, I think that he told the media that he's being arrested because the media ran. He's being arrested. They all rushed to his mansion so that he could give his press conference with his lawyer. Very good strategy, but it was not an arrest. He knew that it was a search and seizure operation. They knew that. They created this impression that there was something happening that was more than what it was. But if the allegations that have been made by the National Police Commissioner, by General Dumisani Khumalo, because there are many Khumalos in the South African Police Service, and General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi are true, then the question that we need to ask ourselves, if those allegations are true, if their investigations are sound, then we have to ask ourselves, is Shadrack Sibiya a Hosh Caridon? Is he part of the Big Five? Is he a cheetah? What is he? Because he can't be a buffalo. He can't be an elephant. But the cat is already there. So what cat is Vusi Matlala Wetsamanyala? Which cat is he? How many cats are in the Big Five, right? It's a lion and a cheetah. It's a cheetah in the Big Five. So what is he? Is he a rhino? Hey, let's figure it out. But that's a question that we have to ask ourselves. Is he a part of the Big Five? Because they start with the search and seizure, and then they take it through the lab, where they do a lot of analysis and they begin to find things that you thought could not be found. Look, I'm going to play you a short clip from the press briefing. I think SABC has the longest interview. It's available on YouTube. You can watch the whole thing. I'm just going to play you some short clip where I think he said some things which were of interest. The media kept calling it a compound in this public or doorstep interview press briefing that he was doing. They were like, compound. It's not a compound. That is a mansion. The man is living lavishly. The gate alone, when you go negotiate lobola and people are posting those lobola negotiations, the gates can tell you the extent of the damage. Sibiya has that kind of a gate that sends him kwenyana packing. Man will send his uncles to that gate, look at that gate and say, let's leave. We've got no business being here. We can't lobola here in the Sibiya family. Look at the level of lavish living. The man's gate is like 5 meters high. Materials that it's made of, that's an expensive gate. That property is a mansion, rightfully described, and it is worth multiples of millions. It's not a 1 million rand property or a 2 million rand property. That is a multiple million rand property. And the media calling it a compound, trying to make it look as if this guy is in a back room gokasi somewhere. He's not. He's living lavish. Then the question becomes, where you get the money from, sir? This speaks to that question about lifestyle audits. Is it typical for a police officer to live in that type of a mansion? How much are they making? In addition to that, it seems he has an amount of money, an abundant amount of money for legal fees. His lawyers right now are working on his suspension from the South African Police Service. His lawyers are preparing him for the Madlanga Commission. His lawyers are working on the ad hoc committee presentation where he's scheduled to appear on Monday. His lawyers have also been going up and down to courts, filing papers, trying to get him back into the head office where he was trying to get back in love with those dockets. He was like, dockets, come back to me. Hey, the things we are seeing. So, point I'm making is that's a lot of billable hours. That's a lot of billable hours. And then the question then becomes, how's he paying for all of this? Mkhwanazi was raising another question about, these people who are implicated in the Hosh curry behavior. They seem to have endless amounts of money, almost like they're withdrawing from a sofa somewhere on a farm. Almost like they got an uncle in the furniture business, Joshua Doe. Maybe. Who knows? Who knows? But they always have top advocates. They always seem to have money to apply for bail, pay for bail. No matter what the number is, these guys are back on the streets like it's nothing, right? And this is part of why the bail situation is one of the conversations. So I don't know where the guy's getting money from. Maybe the police service is paying for it. Does anybody have any information? Can you please tell us in the comments? If you know that property or you've been around that property, is that a cheap property? Is that a compound? Is that a back room? Or is it a lavish mansion? And the question becomes, if Julius Malema wears a 30,000 Rand shoe with a red bottom, they will say, how much is that shoe? Where'd you get the money from? Where'd you get the money from? Now, if there's a police officer living in a mansion, is it not justified, fair, and consistent for the media to also say, hang on, well, bruh, your house is nice. You're living nice here. You're living nga here. Oaks, how are you living so nga out here? I mean, it's only justified for the question to be asked, right? Here's what Sibiya had to say. And I'm going to give you my thoughts and reflections on some of the stuff he said after this.
Did they tell you what they're busy investigating and why they're here?
To tell you what they did was they gave us the search and seizure warrant.
And what does it say, sir?
There's about 4, 5, or 6 pages there, but it's essentially with regard to investigations into alleged that defeats of justice and
money laundering, corruption, all those charges, everything they could find.
Is that what's contained in that particular document that was brought in?
John Mkhwanazi said yesterday that it's imminent.
And what did they confiscate, General Sibiya?
We will normally look for the gadgets and cell phones of everybody who's in the yard. I've been under surveillance. There's helicopters, there's surveillance, left, right, and center. This is abuse of power. Yesterday, there was a black X3 there, and then as you come out, you'll see there's a car that side and there's a car that side. So which my colleagues could be at least thinking for my kids, my family. They haven't done anything wrong for them to be traumatized like this. I know they want to push me out. I will never resign. They must fire me.
General, you're expected to appear before the ad hoc committee on Monday. Has your papers or documentation been interfered with? Now, crucial substance info you were presenting.
No, the guys were decent. The guys were decent. They are cooperative. They are still respecting me. And everything happens under normal circumstances. So especially when you cooperate with them, so they are not really all out to fight you.
What was confiscated here this morning?
What they are after is just the gadgets. I gave them what they needed.
What did you give them?
Is the laptop. There's nothing in the laptop. There's cell phones.
How many cell phones, General?
3 or 4. It's the phones that are here.
Including your personal phones?
Yes.
Where were you at the time when the police found you, General?
I was not around. I was called to come and I came. It is meant to disrupt me. I'm not listening what the National Commissioner is saying there throughout the day. I'm not there to take notes. I'm not concentrating. I've been served with a notice to appear before a disciplinary hearing. I'm also preparing documentation for Madlanga. As you can see, the whole exercise is just meant to confuse me and to keep me under pressure. I'm under siege, yes, and my life is in danger and that of my family. There are cars coming up and down here with false registration numbers. And now the media is here and my place is being exposed. But the bottom line is that I just want to say, now the gadget has been taken as well. And then when I am preparing myself to participate like all others who participated before me, now in my case, I'm under pressure, I'm under siege. and caught a criminal daylight in front of all South Africans. Ultimately, I will be charged. I expect to be pushed out. Is what is this whole thing all about?
There were KZN registration.
All of them are from KZN, of course. And that is unfortunate. That this is how one province decides to behave the way it behaves. And the whole country is allowing this thing to happen, to carry on the way it's carrying on.
Who betrayed you? Because already...
My colleagues betrayed me.
Who betrayed you?
Including him. The last time I was with the National Commissioner, we were fine. The last time I saw him, we were killed.
Has he been to your compound before?
Many times.
Just when you thought the drama was at the highest level of dramacity, another level is unlocked. Tupac wasn't lying. Let me tell you what I think about everything that happened today. Number one, it seems that this was a lawful operation. They had a warrant for the search and seizure. So it wasn't a situation where Sibiya was not aware. It wasn't a situation where they just rocked up for no reason. He did say that he was aware that there was surveillance. He did say, and that is all lawful. If you are a suspect, if you're a person of interest, there will be surveillance. And we understand now why there would be surveillance on a person like Sibiya because of all of the implications that have been made around him and his connections to Matlala, Brown Mkhotsi, and Senzo Mkhunu, and the seizure of the dockets, as well as Katiso Molefe. So there would be surveillance. There would be monitoring, especially if you're the subject of an investigation, which he is. So this was a lawful operation, and they had a warrant. So, and that warrant apparently was 6 pages long. And I'd be curious to see the contents of that warrant, the 6 pages long warrant, because his lawyer seemed to want to rush through it. But it would be interesting, I think, to see what all 6 pages said. But a 6-page warrant, which is signed lawfully, you can't act like now, back Sugela and all of that. So that's number one. Number two, this, I think, is something which is an indication of a major arrest which is coming down the road for Sibiya. I think that they're going to arrest him. Khumalo is going to be on those phones. He's going to make those messages which were deleted or disappearing reappear like Casper the Friendly Ghost. Those messages will be then presented somewhere down the road like those of Vusi Matlala, and they'll be singing like Casper Nyovest. They're going to go from Casper the Friendly Ghost to Casper Nyovest. Nyovest, 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 Nyovest. Hey, the things that we're going to see. So once Khumalo and his people get a hand on those phones, Khumalo may not even be sick right now. They're just waiting for these phones. They're trying to get everything that they can get before this guy goes to the commission because they think he's a dishonest man. He's going to lie. So they're going to get they're going to see what he's got on the phones and see what connections they can prove already and potentially arrest him at some point, even after he's given his testimony. He may not reach December as a free man because we're early in October right now, right? So those messages are likely to show up. And if you think about how Molefe was, arrested and how Matlala was arrested, it's likely that the search and seizure is the beginning. The police operations are going to begin in earnest. They're going to make an arrest, I think. And like he's saying it's imminent. He's saying like, I'm expecting it. And like I don't care. It is what it is. But I think they're going to make an arrest. So I want to say something, my third point. I want to make an observation. I understand people having 2 phones, one for work, one for personal life. I don't understand Kenny Kunene, because he had a version which didn't add up. It's like he wears 2 watches. First and foremost, why do you need 2 watches? Like, are you checking the time in London or what? Why do you need to know what's happening in other, jurisdictions to the point where you need that time on your watch on another wrist, Then he said, Kenny Kunene, that is, as a man who has 2 watches, that he had 1 phone. Remember when they found him at Katiso Molefe's compound? And then he was like, no, check my phone. I'm not messaging this guy. Here's my phone. Check. And I'm like, you got 2 watches, sir. In all likelihood, you've got more than 1 phone. So I don't understand that Kenny Kunene narrative up until now, that why would he have 2 watches, 1 phone? I mean, if you're willing to flex enough with 2 watches, why 1 phone? Now, when it comes to Shadrack Sibiya, I picked up that he has too many phones. 4 phones, because they took 3 or 4 phones. He doesn't even have an understanding of how many phones he's got. 4 phones. 4. All of them charged, ready to take calls. Why on earth would you need all of those phones? Why? What are you doing with 4 phones? I don't know. I just thought it was a curious thing to bring up. Now, it looks as if Shadrack Sibiya is also facing some very serious charges down the road. Defeating the ends of justice, money laundering, corruption. if they put all of those charges together and are able to link him to some other stuff, I don't think that he's going to come out anytime soon if they arrest him and go to trial and can actually get that conviction, right? They took his gadgets, but it seems like they didn't take his iPad. If you rewind that clip, you'll notice where he says, they took my phones, laptop, those are gone. Then I'm like, you just said iPad. What's an iPad? Do you still have an iPad up in there somewhere? Your iPad is the last hope. What's going on? Is there an iPad in there? Why did you not want to say that you've got an iPad? I don't know. I don't know if the man has an iPad, but play it back. Go back and play it back and tell me if you hear that they took my iPhones. Go back. Listen, sir, you've got very nice phones. iPads, iPhones, laptops. Yeah, it's a lot. Okay. There was a contradiction that I also spotted in his version and the version that one of the journalists was trying to push. He says the guys who came there were decent, they were professional. We understood that the children were taken to a separate room while all the searching was happening, so they were not like visibly in line of any of the sight of what the police were doing. Yet he then says he was traumatized. And the journalist was one of the people suggesting that he was traumatized. It's a career cop who works in high priority crime investigations, organized crime investigations. He's seen a gun all his life. He's seen these type of special task teams operating all his life. How can a career cop legitimately claim that the visibility of those people, his colleagues in fact, was traumatizing him, and then simultaneously claim that the people who were searching his property were decent, they were professional, and everything was fine? Either you were traumatized or they were decent and professional. Those two cannot coexist. You cannot be traumatized and they are being decent and professional. That doesn't work. And also, these are tools of trade that you're very exposed to. You're trained and you hang out with criminals or people who are in that underworld, right? Alleged criminals, I should say. But they also have weapons, all of these characters who are dominating the Pretoria nightlife scene, drug scene, etc. Why would you be traumatized by that? You yourself. If it was someone else, maybe you would get a version of why they would be. But I think that the children of policemen, the family members of policemen are quite often exposed to guns. So if they were being professional and well-behaved and were operating in a very gentle and caring manner, why would they even be traumatized? And if they were put in another room, they're not in a line of sight of any of that, right? So I thought there was a contradiction there. I don't know if you pick up the same contradiction, but to me, I thought that's a contradiction. And a contradiction sometimes exposes either deceit, dishonesty, or just a falsehood, because one of the versions is true. They cannot both be true at the same time. He also says that his life is in danger, right? He turned down the police giving him security. He turned it down. He's got his own security. I don't know how he's paying for his own security, because that I think would have to come from some budget, right? Because he says he's done a risk assessment, etc. So I don't think that he can say his life is in danger from the police if they're offering to protect him. Of course, they're also offering to protect him so that they also know his whereabouts. And I would like to know his whereabouts if I'm a person who's investigating him, which the police are. However, if he says his life is in danger, it would be important for him to be protected. I actually think that he faces a bigger risk of his life being in danger from the people who are involved in Hosh curry behavior, the people who killed Babita Deokaran, the people who killed Mpoma Fole, the people who killed those police officers who were found in the river. You know, people who've been implicated in violent crimes and attempted assassinations and assassinations. Vusimuzi Kat Matlala Wetsamanyala. He's somebody who I would be worried about if I was Shadrack Sibiya, because right now, if I'm Vusi Matlala and I think Shadrack Sibiya is going to protect himself and sing, I'm going to be worried about him. Katiso Mulefe, I'd be worried about Shadrack Sibiya as well. And there are other people on the outside who say they have quite good friends with Shadrack Sibiya. And a lot of his friends seem to be in those underworld circles and spaces and in those drug spaces and places. So if I'm Sibiya and I'm saying my life is a threat, then the question then becomes, who's killing whistleblowers, right? Who's killing whistleblowers? He turned down the protection from the police. I'd be thinking that you should be worried actually about these characters who have gone and gunned down Aman Swat, 23 bullets to Aman Swat, killed DJ somebody, killed other DJs, right? That's what I'd be worried about. But also, how are you paying for all of this private security if you don't want the security from the South African Police Service? I also want to make a comment about some of the questions from the journalist. some of them felt to me that they were doing their best to put Sibiya in a positive light. And that to me seems like you're going the extra mile right now, considering some of the implications that have come on his doorstep, the allegations on his doorstep. Why would you, one, go gang-ho to attack Mkhwanazi? You know, they've been going gang-ho because Mkhwanazi said some people in the media, some journalists are, you know, worth looking into. Because one, they're getting access to top secret documents, and two, they are writing in ways that seem suspicious and seem to be coordinated smear campaigns. And because these issues pertain to policing, the drug industry, national security, it's like they should be investigated. Editors Forum, left, right, and center, they were writing negative articles about him, almost as if it was a coordinated thing. But then now you've got journalists doing their extra best to put Sibiya in a positive light. And I'll give you an example of what I'm saying. They were asking him what are known as leading questions. For instance, instead of asking him, how does he feel? Mr. Sibiya, how do you feel? They say, Mr. Sibiya, are you feeling traumatized right now? Really? Are you feeling betrayed? Let him say what he wants to say, but why are you putting those words and ideas into his mouth? Those are leading questions, almost as if it's something that is coordinated or something that is being given to try to humanize him and, you know, try to put him in a certain type of a light, as if somehow he had his doors banged down and all of that. But he's saying, and his gate looks fine, so they didn't bang on his gate. He's saying these were decent, professional people who were very nice to him, very respectful to him. So at what point is there a necessity for you to ask those questions in that way? Did he then say off camera that he was feeling traumatized? Then why not ask him, if you're saying you're traumatized, how when these people are treating you so well? Both things cannot be true at the same time. Sibiya also mentioned something that I thought was interesting, but he got cut off, so we didn't get to hear more about it, that he's been working in organized crime for years. This was in reference to the question about whether he's been having conversations with his Hosh Curry fathers and is aware of some of their, you know, Hosh Curry behavior. He was cut off, but he was suggesting that, you know, he doesn't lead the kind of a life where he wouldn't be talking to those type of people because he's in crime investigation of that nature. And then in the back of my mind, I was like, but who have you arrested recently in organized crime? Who did you get? If you're talking to all of these people, show us the proceeds of your work. Show us some convictions. If the task team can come and say, here's what we are proud of, here's what we did, etc., etc., why can you not do the same? Will you do the same on Monday when you go speak to the other committee? I think he's right that he's under pressure. And I also think that they took his stuff strategically so that they can catch him in lies and contradictions. Because now he really has to think hard about what he's going to say at the commission. Because now they got access to your stuff, and they also will get access to cell phone tower records, proof of payments, and multiple forms of information that could be found on those devices. You know, Vusi Matlala, I think he thought nothing could be found on his phone. But he was wrong, because General Tumsani Kumalo and his guys came in there with the 5-pillar approach. They came in there with an analysis-led investigation, and they found those messages from Brown Mkhotsi, which Brown is not denying, by the way. He's not denying them. The veracity of the messages is confirmed. So now, when we're in this situation, it looks as if they want to actually be able to preempt some of the things, and that would explain part of the timing. In other news, you know, the SIU today was raiding one of the homes of Morgan Maumela. They got the media and they did that whole, you know, showing what was actually happening. It was one of the criticisms that I raised here to say, number one, the timing of this seems suspicious. It almost seems as if it's an attempt by parts of the government to look busy, as if they're also dealing with this. Because Babita Deokaran was killed in August of 2021. Right? August of 2021. And there's a good book on that topic. If you want to read it, Shadow State by Jeff Wicks, you can read that book. Now, in that 2021 August killing, we are now in October of 2025, a full 1,000 plus days later. It seems weird that you do these particular things, one, on the day that Dumsani Kumalo was testifying, giving the evidence, and now two, on the day that General Fani Masemola is testifying at the ad hoc committee in Parliament. It's almost as if you wanted to take attention away from the committee, presentations, and then put it on the streets and take the audience participate, because they don't want us to fully hear some of the stuff that Mkhwanazi and Dumsani, not Dumsani in this case, General Fani Masemola are saying. That's why some of these distractions have been happening. So the timing to me was a bit peculiar, but the action itself is a welcome action. So I think it's good for the public to ask questions like, show us this particular person's dead body, show us the blood splatter, show us, some of the documents we need to be able to satisfy ourselves that this is not a Thabo Bester type of situation where there's a simulation. The Gavin Watson issue left a lot of questions in the public imagination. The Marcus Euster incident also left people with a lot of questions because people were like, are these people really, or is this just a way of absconding without accountability to spend your days off in an island drinking, moki, what is it? Drinking some mojitos and all of that. So, yeah, man, those events happening today were a little bit, but it's welcome. The public did ask for proof. The public did ask to see with their eyes, and now they're showing with their eyes. But the timing, I think, is still a timing which is questionable. Now, I want to do a proper episode about the Fanny Masemola testimony. So I'm going to let this be your holding episode. Hold on to this one. And subscribe, by the way. If you haven't subscribed, support the channel. We're trying to end Hosh curry behavior. We're trying to end it wherever it happens. We're trying to end Hosh curry behavior once and for all. So if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. We're aiming to hit 20,000. But tomorrow, I'm going to give you a full episode in the morning. So before the committee gets going, you wake up, having some breakfast, you'll find an episode reviewing the Fanny Masemola testimony to Parliament. So let's make that appointment in advance. Look out for that episode in the morning. But you can hold on to this one. This is a starter. It's a teaser. But I don't know what you thought about all of these events. I definitely think that Shadrack Sibiya is not going to have a restful night tonight. The Hosh Panic is increasing. Let's meet in the comments and talk.